topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. It is Tuesday, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. So, here's the thing. I want to share with you a beautiful experience I had just a couple of days back. So, here I was waiting in the grocery line, and there was this grocer, beautiful person, amazing person. And what was surprising was that even though there was such a long line, when everybody stood in front of her, she would smile, ask after them, and pack the groceries as fast as she could. So, what an example. And then what was amazing was that even though there were long lines, because of her behavior, because of her kindness, everybody got in that jovial and spirited mood. And it's amazing how just being kind and just having that smile on your face can make such a huge difference. So, as always, I'm going to urge you to go ahead and find that hour of your time in a month and spread it out and spread the joy, spread that kindness. And for all of those who have not got a books, get a books. They will help you position yourself as an authentic person that you are. And I'm excited to share. I'm thinking of writing my book, which is going to be a follow-up to Expert to Influencer. Just talked and brainstormed with my team today, and so thrilled about it. And I'll be divulging more information about it in the upcoming shows. So if you get a chance, get a books, because part of it is not only to help you get established as an entrepreneur, as an expert, and have a happy, joyous life, but it's also know that partial profits from the book sales go to kiva.org. So you become part of our family, not just by buying, but helping us help other entrepreneurs. So let's bring on our guest. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, how are you? Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Nicole. So tell us, if you recall a moment from your childhood that stands out for you even today.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. Do you recall a moment from your childhood that stands out for you even today?
I guess a moment from my childhood that stands out for me today. I remember so much of playfulness from my childhood. I think the vision that came to me as you asked me that question, I just remember playing in the sand as a child and how innocent and playful I was as a child. And it made me think for a minute how important it is, even as an adult, to bring that same playfulness into my everyday life. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing that when you talk about playfulness, and that's what we want for our children, having that playfulness and just playing and carrying it through their adulthood.
Yeah.
So,
And I think I just wanted to add to that. I think some of the work that I talk about and the work that I do, I always encourage people to remember that that part of you, that inner child, if you will, she's still there. She still is with you. She still wants to play. And so it's important to, I think, as adults, to still tap into that part of us that is there.
mhm, very true, very true. Because without play, creativity doesn't happen. So it's important and play can be different. It doesn't have to be that you don't have to just kind of go and play in the sand.
Yeah.
It can be different, like whatever brings you joy and helps you with that creativity and curiosity.
Yeah.
So as you grew up, where were your interests as a teenager and in high school?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because I was just talking to my parents yesterday and I completely forgot this, but in 7th grade, I ran for student council. And my dad said he said, I didn't tell my parents that I was doing it. And the way that he found out was he showed up at our junior high and there were signs everywhere that said, vote for Nicole. And that's how he found out that I was running because I never told them. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but at a very young age, I wanted to lead. And I won as the 7th grade president of our class. So I always had an interest in leadership. I was also an athlete. So I played volleyball, I ran track. I was a very active kid who also sometimes got involved with the wrong crowd, if you will. So I was kind of always playing, kind of riding the line a little bit. There was a part of me that wanted to be, I did really well in school. I did the sports, but then there was also kind of the rebellion part of me. But from a very young age, thinking about 7th grade, I wanted to help and I wanted to lead. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What would you say were your lessons? Like you mentioned that you played sports and ran track from that.
Commitment.
Mhm.
Commitment. There were many times when I would sign up for a camp where I didn't know anybody, a volleyball camp in high school. And I remember one time it was a week camp and I was staying overnight and it was a hard camp. I called my parents crying on the first day and I just wanted to come home. And I remember I was so mad at them because they were like, no, you're going to stick it out. You're going to stay. And I stayed at that camp and I am so grateful that I did because I will never forget the last day of that camp. I had improved so much. I had the confidence that I didn't have on the first day. I had made some friends. So I think just thinking back to sports, one of the biggest things that my parents really instilled in me was the importance of commitment and consistency. I continued to show up and it was worth it.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head, Nicole. Consistency and commitment. And that's how if you show up in life too. Being committed to yourself, being committed to others, and showing up for yourself, showing up for others. Because when you do that, that's when the magic happens. So as you
Yep.
continued out of your high school, where did your life take you?
Many different directions. I went to college. I went to Arizona State and really fun school. I graduated with a finance degree. And after college, I had a really rough, 3, 4
Hmm.
years, my mid-20s. I think you go to school, you go to college. I mean, that's not everybody's track, but that was kind of my track. And then after that, you graduate college and it's like, there you are. So there is no more plans. It's really up to you. And I think I really felt I lost control in a sense. Like I didn't know what was next. And so I did get I was diagnosed with an eating disorder in my early 20s, and so I went to treatment for anorexia. And part of the eating disorder, I think, was it was a way for me to control what was going on in my life. I
Mm.
did have control issues, and I would say I still probably am a little type A. And when I hit that mid-20s mark, I felt out of control. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. I felt lost. My degree in finance, I just wasn't I did the corporate thing. I got a job with the degree that I had, but I wasn't happy. And so I think the eating disorder was a cry for help in a sense. And so
Hmm.
I went to treatment and it was the best thing that's ever happened to me. That was where I was introduced to yoga, and yoga really saved my life. I mean, I know it
Hmm.
sounds big, but it's very true. And so yoga saved my life. And that is why I got into the work that I'm doing now, which is teaching yoga and owning a studio and really kind of giving back in a sense, if you will. So that was kind of like my 20s. And once I hit 30, I got
So let's
into,
let's stop for a bit and
yeah.
explore. There are so many young girls and boys. They come out of school with all these stars, right? Like, yeah, graduation, all pumped up. And as you mentioned, that then there is that gap because since you're a child, either like even if you're in sports, you're going okay, yeah, like are we going in Division 1, Division 2 school, and they have their path mapped out. But there are a lot of people, like as you mentioned, with finance degrees, and if you're not a professional athlete, which are not that many, is yep, you gotta go get a job, and then when they're in the job, it is not stepping up to their expectations. So is it that their expectations are not aligning with the reality or what's happening? And if you were to go back during that time, what would you tell them and tell your younger self?
That's such a good question. I think it's hard as kids when you are 18, 19, declaring your major. Um, and my parents really kind of guided me in that direction. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Um, and that's why I went in that's why I did the finance degree. And I wish if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would have told her to take a step back and to really check in with what do I want to do? Because as a people pleaser, I was just wanting to please my parents, and everybody around you is kind of telling you what they want you to do. And that, at least that was my experience, is to just take a step back, and it's okay to not know, right? It's okay to not know exactly what you want to do. You're young. Um, but I wish I would have taken a moment to pause, and it's as simple as what do I like? Like, what am I drawn to? And every person, no matter what your age is, if you really take a moment to pause and to take a step back, you know the things that you like. And if I would have taken that step back, I probably would have gone into nursing. And at that time, I was very interested in it, but I kind of shut that down and really listen to what other people were telling me. You're so good in business. You're strong with numbers. You've always gotten A's in math. That just go for it. And so that's what I listened to. And it was like, okay. So I really would encourage people to take a moment to pause, to check in with yourself. Is this really what you want? What do you want? As opposed to what those external factors are communicating or talking or kind of influencing you, if they are out there.
That's powerful. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge you for being vulnerable. So it's not only taking a pause, but recognizing, as you mentioned, that it was cry for help. And I'm sorry that you had to go through it. Sounds like it made you a much stronger and more in tune person with yourself. Now, that said, if we can help our young listeners know that it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to share your story, and it's okay to go ask for that help. You don't have to be in control at all times. So kudos to you for sharing that story, and that can light the way for other people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I love that you said that as a reminder. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not be in control, because that's life, right? So I thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So then you mentioned that yoga saved your life. Tell me, what was it about yoga that you connected with?
To be honest and to be fair, in the beginning, I did not like yoga. And so as somebody that was a pound the pavement, over exerciser, really kind of at war with my body. When I went to treatment and yoga was a big part of our daily work, I was very resistant. I was very resistant in the beginning. And I'll never forget one day, it was a big turning point for me. We started with our class and we were outside and it was a beautiful sunny day. And the yoga that we were doing was trauma informed. I didn't know it at the time, but we were standing outside in Tadasana or mountain pose, and we were on the grass and the sun was shining. And in that moment, it was like the first time that I was able to really connect with myself and actually feel like a sense of love towards myself that I hadn't felt in years, probably since I was that little girl playing in the sand. And so in that moment, I just started to sob because I felt that connection. And in that moment, I felt that sense of love. I wasn't at war or I wasn't hating myself. And it was a short moment, but I got a glimpse of it and I wanted more of it. And so that was really kind of like my experience with yoga, and why I wanted that feeling again. I wanted that. So I kept doing the work, and that connection piece, that love with self, which really happens in the present moment. That's what I was yearning for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That in that moment, you got a glimpse that what could happen if you love yourself. And so many times what happens is that when people don't ask for help, they want to be strong, like, yep, I'm strong, but then that can come out sometimes passive aggressive, or it can come out in any other forms. So what you're sharing is that, yes, you may experience resistance. Yes, you may not believe in it, but it's about that commitment and consistency, going back to what you shared originally, that when you're seeking help, it'll be tough at times and it will just be maybe a moment. But if you keep on showing up for yourself, you'll get past it.
Exactly. And I think I would just encourage your listeners as well to, if you are resisting, lean into that. Why are you resisting? And I think that's just like a moment of pause and a moment of awareness to really check in. And my resistance was slowing down was scary. Tuning in felt scary when
Mhm.
you've been so disconnected from yourself over all these years. But crying was scary because I was always the hard, the strong one, the rock, So those vulnerable feelings can be scary. But I really encourage people to lean into those feelings.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you shared that not only it helped you connect with yourself, love yourself, but out of it was born a business. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so it wasn't right away. Took me maybe like 5 years. Eventually, I kept doing yoga, and then I decided to become a teacher. And so
Mm.
I was home with my two little boys. I have at the time they were 2 and 3. And I just was feeling unfulfilled home with them. I love them to death, but I was looking for something more. And so that's when I decided to go get my 200-hour teacher training certificate. And that was like a 6-month program. So I did that, and I started teaching yoga. My first year, I was teaching in gyms and at yoga studios. And I just, I loved what I was doing. I loved teaching. And I think that leader part in me that's
Mhm.
always been there started to kind of come back up. And I was looking at how everybody was running their facilities of where I was teaching. And I realized I thought I could do it better. And
And why not?
yeah, and why not? So I opened up my first studio almost 10 years ago today. And there was no yoga being offered in the small town that I was in. And so I opened up my first studio, and that's where it all began. So I started the teaching. I love teaching. And then I wanted something more than just teaching. I wanted to make this a career. And so I opened up my first studio, and that was about 10 years ago. And so I'm still in the business, not teaching as much, more behind the scenes of running the studio, and also really in the space of educating students who are interested in becoming teachers. So
Mhm.
students become yoga teachers is kind of where I'm
Interesting.
at.
So you mentioned that when you were teaching at other facilities that you could do better than them. So when you opened up your yoga studio, what was different about your yoga studio?
The first word that just came to my mind was community.
Hmm.
There is an energy
Mhm.
that I've learned over the years that comes from the owner. And it's important in, and I think in a lot of industries, but I'm speaking more specifically to the yoga industry and the industry that I'm in, to foster a community within your studio space. And it started with me just being there. It started with me teaching a lot of the classes and educating people because it was in a smaller town. So there were some people that thought yoga was weird, and so I really had to educate people on what yoga was about. And so I really think that our studio, and our studio still today, if you talk to any of our members, they would say like they love the community of people that are there. There are so many, any of our members would do anything for some of the people that they come to class with every day. They've become good friends. And I think that it starts with the owner and the energy that the owner brings into the space that then fosters that close community, not only within the students, but also within the teachers that we have in our space. So, yeah. Community.
That's beautiful, because in this disconnected world of social media, where people are just kind of putting forward their best foot forward, so to speak, it's more of a comparison. And of course, it's still a community and people connect. I've had beautiful friendships. At the same token, it does create that disconnect. And when you're building that community, that's very powerful. So tell us, like, what else did you do with your business?
Yeah. So community was big. We started offering a lot of workshops and events, because I think that there's so much that goes beyond just yoga and the physical practice that we see. So we started offering a lot of workshops that kind of would expand the depth of yoga. So the people that were really interested in learning more than just the physical practice would sign up for some of these workshops and events, like a sound bath meditation or breath work. So things like that. So we started offering more workshops and events. And then we started offering our 200-hour teacher training program, which again, for people that want to teach, they go through our 200-hour teacher training program. So that is something that we are very proud of. We continue to offer that as well. So teaching students how to become teachers and become very good quality teachers is very important to me. And then the other piece of the business where I've really kind of personally expanded on is trauma-informed yoga. So I've started to do and offer more trauma-informed yoga classes and volunteer my time to domestic abuse shelters and recovery centers. So some sober living houses in Minneapolis. And that is something that I'm very passionate about teaching. And so trauma-informed yoga has been a really cool piece to my journey and offering that.
Oh, that's beautiful. And giving back to the community is so important. And that's so close to my heart, because think about it, when all of us would be helping each other out, like, we would be living in a very beautiful community and a kind community, and just finding some time. So that's great. And if some were starting out their business, or somebody is looking to grow their business, as you have learned through your journey, what are a few tips that you can share?
The first word that comes to mind is, and my husband tells me this a lot, is hit the repeat button. So every day, and that's that consistency piece, right? I do some coaching for yoga studio owners, and that's one of the biggest things that I talk with them about. And no matter what you're in as far as business goes, show up every day. And even on the days that are hard, even on the days where in my position, teaching to one person, a yoga class, only teaching to one person, or showing up to teach a class and nobody shows up, on those hard days when you're feeling discouraged and you're wondering, why am I doing this? Just continue to show up for yourself, continue to show up for your community. The repeat button is really something that I've seen success with many different business owners. If you can stay committed and consistent with how you're showing up for your business and your community, I know you'll succeed. So yeah. So hitting that repeat button. Invest in yourself. There is, I wish I would have, I waited about 4 years to hire a business coach to help me with my business. And I have to say it was very lonely for those 4 years. As a business owner, it can feel very lonely. And so whether or not you don't necessarily need to hire a business coach if that's not in the budget, but find a mentor, somebody that is doing what you want to be doing, or somebody that is very influential to you, or somebody that you respect, find a mentor or invest in a coach, because I believe, and I've seen it happen in my business over and over again, what has come back from that investment, not just financially, but also just on a personal and professional level, is tenfold. So definitely, I think invest in yourself is another piece of advice I would give.
Absolutely. You have talked about breath work. So there are
Mm.
a lot of people who are experiencing, especially after pandemic, anxiety, or they may be experiencing just a disconnect. Do you have a couple of breathing exercises that people could do? A quick one, it's something like, breath on the go, that would
Mhm.
help them out.
For sure. So this is what I love to talk about. So the two things, I'll give you two very simple ones, and you can do it in the car. Like for those of you that have kiddos and you're in the drop off line or pickup line, you can do it in the car. First one is just very simple, breathing in and out through the nose. So you breathe in through the nose for 4 counts. Just breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you exhale through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. So very simple. It could be just doing that a few times. It could be doing that for a minute. Breathing in and breathing out through the nose activates the vagus nerve or the parasympathetic nervous system, which signals to your body that it's safe to relax. It can help with anxiety, and all it takes is 60 seconds and intentional breathing. So you just breathe in through the nose for 4 counts and you breathe out through the nose for 4 counts. So I would really recommend that. If you want to take it one step further, one other option that I would suggest would be what we call a box breath. So we're just going to add to that breath work. So you'll breathe through the nose for 4 counts. You're going to hold at the top for 4 counts. You're going to exhale through the nose for 4 counts. And then you're going to hold at the bottom for 4 counts. So it's almost like you're making this box. That's why it's called box breath, is you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. So those would be the two very simple techniques I would recommend.
Yeah, and they're powerful techniques because even Navy SEALs use the box breathing, and it helps. And let's say, as listeners are thinking about yoga and then they want to connect with you, do you offer anything online? How can they connect with you? How can they know more about you?
Sure. So, yes, at my studio in Minneapolis, all of our classes are offered live stream. So, if people want to learn more about the work, or want to learn more about the classes, or are interested in taking a yoga class, just visit thehonestyoga.com. So just thehonestyoga.com. And that is where you can try us out. We have an intro rate. It's all over our website. You can't miss it. It's $15 for the first week of classes. And so all of the classes you'll see in our schedule say live stream. And so those are the classes that you can just tune in and try us out and see if it's a fit for you. And so we do have, and if you decide it is, you can sign up for a live stream membership option and tune into any of those classes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up our show, are there any parting thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yes. Another piece of advice that has been very much resonating with me is, if there's one person that you're going to bet on yourself. Count on yourself, bet on you. I think when our fear-based thoughts are getting in the way, right, of us making decisions, kind of crushing our spirit, or, I think always remember, And for whatever reason, lately for me, reminding myself, bet on yourself, Nicole. If you're going to bet on anybody, bet on you. And so that's what I would love to remind your listeners is to bet on yourself.
Mm-hmm. A great way to part. Bet on yourself, because we are here. We bet on you and would love to see you bet on yourself, because we want to make sure that you live the life that you deserve. So thank you, Nicole, for joining our show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor to be here.
Oh, it's been a joy.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners, for being part of our family, because as Nicole mentioned, community is important, and this is what it is. It is our Beyond Confidence family. It's not just about living your life confidently. It's about taking that one step beyond, where you can express yourself to the fullest and reach out to us. Let us know, how can we help you to express yourself fully, be the best version of yourself, and live the life you deserve and want. And thank you, Juan, for making this show possible.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.